Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? Did you get any rest? Yeah? I mean, I didn't. Just after showcases, I had to finish an application for Ministry of Culture, which I ended it at like 3:30 in the morning, which is probably, strictly speaking, not a work for an agent. But it shows that, especially here in Slovenia, things are a bit blurry, which we will talk later. Maybe distinguish between an agent, manager, and so on. But if you don't get extra money from a ministry, it means less bookings, means less money for an agent. Before we continue, I would like to ask you how many of you in the audience are agents as well? And not one of you from Slovenia, right? Any Slovenian musicians? Okay, that's 3 more than I expected. No, honestly, I mean, I kind of became an agent a year ago by coincidence. Just a background story before I give you the word. I worked for a festival, then we split, and I offered my service, let's say, to musicians. And firstly, everybody was really like kind of reluctant, because institution of agent in Slovenia and some other parts in the Balkans is a bit like, I don't know how to put it, but for example, promoters see us something as in between. They don't want to talk to you because they see you only as somebody who wants to take a percentage, and you do nothing at all. They don't see that you write application till 3 a.m. Musicians usually have at the beginning similar position. They see you also as somebody who wants to take some money of them, and they can talk directly to promoters. And promoters, it's interesting that still, now I book a couple of bands also in the Balkans, and local promoters still talk usually directly to musicians, even they know that I am representing them. They always see like, we'll get rid of this 10-15% if I talk directly to them. I don't know, maybe you will later tell me your experience, even though all of you come from bigger agencies. And maybe for first round, just please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Clémence from ATC Live. So I am based in Paris. The agency is based in London. Yeah.
Good morning, I'm Marijn from BLiP agency, Amsterdam-based agency.
Hello, I'm Kirmes. I work for Powerline agency. We're based in Berlin. I live in Leipzig. We're active as agency, represent bands European-wide, or we are active as a promoter for Germany only.
Hi, I'm Lucy from Earth Agency, based in London. I live in Barcelona.
Okay, thank you. Just to tell you how big they are, I counted with how many bands they are working as agents, and they would fill MENT easily. And at MENT, we will see 81 bands in 3 days, and I counted all the bands, and they are above this number. So you work with way more bands than you will see at MENT. Did you see any showcases yesterday?
Yes?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who had a band already which played at MENT?
I was playing in a band that played at MENT. They were called White Wine.
Okay.
We were with ATC Live for a while too.
Okay, and Clémence, you had Black Country in Europe,
Yeah, they
right?
played last night, yeah. At Galahad.
Okay.
It was great, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, people really enjoyed them, and they had a great time as well. I was actually surprised that like a lot of people in the room already knew like a couple of, well, they just released 2 songs until now, but like, yeah, it seems people were excited to see them. So.
Like professionals or local audience as well?
I think both, yeah.
And what about those who didn't have bands? Did you find something for which you would, for example, like to work with or would be interested in working with?
Yes.
You see? Yeah.
I saw Fulcrum last night and really enjoyed myself. And
Sorry, which one?
Fulcrum,
Okay.
yeah. And yeah, it very much resonated with me. Really
Okay.
enjoyed it. So yeah, I want to talk to him. I've got Skinny Palembe playing tonight as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And you guys?
I saw a band called Neighbors Burning Neighbors. They were kind of interesting. I also saw Black Country New Road, which I really liked. And I saw an electronic act related named FVLCRM, something like this. And it was kind of interesting. I got recommended by a Bratislavian promoter to me. I liked it too.
I stayed around till late to see solo ensembles, and I thought it was pretty cool. Like good club vibes late at night.
So how does it work with you when you see a band you would like to work with? How do you approach it? Or you wait that they approach you?
No.
Let's start with
No, usually, well, if I really love the show and that I don't know much about the artist, I will first have a look at like the context and the team, and so I will go check the Facebook and stuff like that, like just see who they are. I would say I would do that before approaching, like even look at more videos or stuff like that, and then yeah, just email to see if they want to meet or have a chat over the phone.
Do you email them or management or label?
Yeah, if there is a manager, I would like email the manager. I kind of always try to follow the rules, you know. Also, like you know how it is, like being an agent. Sometimes like people, yeah, just like email the artist, and it's. I used to be very annoyed at that, and now not really anymore, because I mean it's fine. They're just trying to get in touch, and I think it's all right.
And what would be your approach?
It depends, I guess, on the situation. Like, if I see a promoter that I work with has booked them for something, I try and get them to introduce me. Yeah, or I just look at their socials and see what the contact is, hit them up, and try and have a chat as quickly as possible. Yeah. And if I have like somebody in common, I try and get them to big me up or intro me. Yeah.
You guys?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of how it works if you want to sign a band as an agent, just like for worldwide European bookings. But we will also work as sub-agents, and then we usually get we get a lot of like offers from agencies from all around the world to work as an agent in Netherlands, Benelux. So that's also a part of the A&R process. But it's usually it's contact with management or label or agents. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be doing a background check basically too, and I would see if I know anybody in that team or if I know anybody that has worked with the band before, and if I would know like a promoter that has been doing shows with this band before, I would also ask how are they, is it like nice to work with them, and I would also like probably the first thing I would do, I would try and listen to the music again, because I might not like it the next day. Maybe I like the show more than the recordings, and it usually has to make sense that both of it is appealing to me.
So for you, fundamental criteria would be music or all package?
Mainly music, but then package right after.
And what about others? What would be fundamental criteria for you, for example?
For the what, sorry?
Fundamental criteria for when you search, you do a background check about the band, which criteria would...
I like to see that there's a plan in place that really appeals to me. If there's a forward plan, if there's releases coming out, there's activity, then I know I can do something with it. Yeah.
But would you be prepared to invest in making a plan with the band?
Yeah, I guess so. If they've got, if they're sitting on material and they need to figure out what to do with it, I'm happy to like input on that. Try not to get too involved with that side, but I can make suggestions to what I think would be useful for, you know, booking a tour around.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And how fundamental criteria for you, for example, is personal touch, personal impression you get from the band?
Well, yeah, I think the music is definitely number one to me. And yeah, I mean, it's part of one thing as well. Like as an artist, it's not just the music you make, but like what you want to do, where you want to go, like what's the purpose of it. And so, yeah, I wouldn't work with people that are not nice, you know, or
Okay.
like very annoying. Like I try to avoid that, like because I think for everybody
Does it
it's
happen?
always.
Is it often?
I mean, it happened to me, yeah, in the past. Like, but just I would say a couple. Like I've been quite lucky to work with really nice people, and so I work with a lot of artists without a manager, for instance. So we definitely discuss plan together and ideas, and I actually love this part of the job.
And the others, so you also think that this personal relationship with the band is important?
For me, definitely, I have to connect to the people I'm working with. I would preferably like it if it's the same mindset as mine, and if I'm also really into like shaping up plans with bands and being part of a vision rather than just having a management dictate you what you have to do. Because like that, I feel that's what agents are for. Like you have to propose your ideas. Like this band should play this certain kind of venue in those cities because that could really work out for them rather than just playing any venue in any city just to play a show. And I definitely have to connect to all of the people, otherwise it's no fun. If it's annoying or stressful, I just take my work home and feel annoyed in my free time, and that's not great.
Mm-hmm. So, but let's put it the other way around. There would be a band which you would see like it has great potential. It's really like it will bring me a lot of money. Agency would be super happy with it, but they are annoying. What to do in that case?
I would not do it then.
Yeah.
You wouldn't?
No.
No?
Me neither.
No.
So all the bands in your rosters are not annoying. It's great to hear that so many nice people are
You said that.
Yeah. But for example, where would you look for those new bands, new emerging artists? What kind of places?
Anywhere. Like I listen to music while I'm working, and sometimes my Spotify algorithm just takes me to great places, and sometimes it doesn't. And I keep also looking at festival lineups, for example, and if there's anything I don't know, I would listen to it. Or if I book a band to a festival, I would want to know like what's the band playing afterwards, or what's the band before. And sometimes you find something this way, or you would have a band playing Europe and then the band asks you to add a support that they know, and I would obviously be wanting to listen to that band too because I want to know who they're bringing on tour with. And yeah, so everywhere there is music, you can find music, I guess.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about relationships with musicians, but agent as an in-between needs to have also, of course, very good relations with promoters. How important nowadays is this personal touch with promoters? I'm asking because I get this feeling that with sending random mails you don't achieve anything anymore. So probably it seems like that personal touch became, even in the world of this new media, which is super fast and super effective, but we got back to this, that we have to talk to promoters. How important do you find this?
Yeah, it's super important, and it's great coming to places like this where you can act like somebody I've emailed for years. Actually seeing them in person makes it a lot better chatting to them the next week because you have like a personal connection after that. And yeah, just it's all about strengthening your network with people so that when I do sign somebody brand new that no one's heard of yet, they kind of trust my instinct and are probably more likely to listen to it, you know?
You, for example?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's like, I think we are like the younger generation of agents, and I feel that things have changed a lot in a good way, where we understand like promoters and like agents work as a team, and just don't be mean to promoters, don't like, you know, like email a sentence back or just don't get back. So I think we should really work as a team in long term. So and it's obviously always better to meet in person when you can, or get on the phone. So yeah.
You want to say that you answer all mails you get?
So,
Do you answer all emails you get?
no. Problem is that I actually have a hard time right now about that, and especially the last year. And I asked myself, like, should I try to answer everybody, or like actually, you know, think about the band first and like work, you know, as a priority and work on the touring plan. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to answer as much as I can, but it's difficult.
And the others?
I guess
Pretty similar?
some part of the emails you get are like impersonal, random emails, and those I just normally skip because people didn't do any research, they don't even know who they're emailing with. But the other ones, yeah, I try to. Sometimes it takes months to just get back to band and tell them you listened to it and you liked it or didn't like it. But yeah, it's kind of hard to keep an overview of whatever is coming in.
To be honest, I wanted to introduce us members of agencies which don't answer all the mails, because I had experience, of course, dealing with agencies and everything, and of course, it happened many times that you don't get an answer. But before I used to work as a promoter, and it makes perfect sense that you can't answer all mails anymore, because it just became crazy. That's why I think this that's why I was asking you so much about personal relationship between with agents, with promoters and musicians. But what about labels? How important the role of label is today? For example, Marijn.
Yeah, I think it's still important. I think the role of labels kind of changed a little bit they have to do more digital marketing and distribution, of course. But the role of tastemaker and like giving an artist like a profile, I think that's still very important with record labels. And just as an agent, you work together with the label and the artist and management. And if that works out together, then you can really achieve something. They're all equally important in that, I guess.
Clémence, for example, how much do you work with labels? How closely you are related to labels?
I work with labels every time a band has a label, or it's a common thing nowadays for bands to start their own label. Like, I work with this band, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, and they have always had their own label, so it's talking to the label and the band if you want to know something about their release structure. But I do think it's really important, and I have, like, for all of the bands I'm working for in Europe as an agent, I'm trying to be in frequent conversation with the labels. Also because, and it's hard for artists sometimes to understand, like, it makes sense to play shows and a tour if the releases worked at the same time. Like, I get the situation quite often that a band says they just want to play shows, but the album is not coming in the next 2 years. And I say, well, if we play those shows now, we can't do them later, because we already did this city like half a year before, and you want to return with the same album. Yes, it could work theoretically, but it's not the best plan to do. And Yeah. So yes, to answer your question, I'm in frequent touch with labels and everybody with me.
And I guess you all experience this, that bands want to play as much as possible and sometimes not having a plan. And you as an agent, basically what I want to here to point out is what is the role of manager and what is the role of an agent in this case?
I believe the management has to be the conversation, like the point where you go to for everything. And in a best case scenario, he shapes a vision or creates a plan with the label that he's discussing with the agency. If there's no management, you have to do it directly. It's more complicated because it's more different conversations you have to have. But I believe a management is there to take work away from everybody else and to make it a little easier, especially for the artist, and to have a vision and set that through.
But for example, Lucy, would you like have an argument sometimes with the management? Like management would think something like we have to wait, so on, and let's make a plan. And you as an agent, you want to book as many shows as possible.
I would probably err more on the side of wanting to go with the plan, the manager, and book shows in a strategic way. But I definitely did have arguments with with the managers. I would say they're conversations, not like arguments. But definitely there's points where we disagree with each other, but you know, we have to trust each other and have mutual respect for what we're each doing.
And what are the like common grounds for these arguments? Where do you argue most about?
Trying to think. I don't know, sometimes like if an entire festival has already put their lineup out, they're like, we should get a set on this festival. I'm like, well, they've already announced it. You needed to release the album at this time to have attention for that festival, that kind of thing. Yeah.
You have similar experience with arguing with managers?
I guess you always have like different opinions, but so far you always work it out in the end. I think like there's sometimes just little things that you can discuss about and you feel like, okay, this is taking up too much time. For example, like if the management thinks the art should be higher on the lineup, you're like, okay, it doesn't really matter, and then you have to fix that, and then it's still not good enough. Those things are kind of annoying, but in general, like I like working with a management for artists because you know they have more time to look at this, like the smaller things that need to be done.
You all work in big or relatively big agencies. What is the advantage of it, and how independent are you in this whole frame of many agents, many big rosters, and management of an agency itself?
Well, I think ITC Live is independent. I would say it's still like a medium like agency. We are 30 people, so it's quite big already. And yeah, I feel we know like ATC is not always named when someone mentions the main agencies like UTS, yeah, Paradigm. But yeah, no, I guess it's getting well known now, and it grew quite fast. But yeah, I think there's definitely a difference of approach. That's how I feel, like, especially, like, I mean, I joined ATC because of that. Like, I think the approach is different. We're trying to work really long term and with both artists and promoters. So I really like that, and work as a team as well. Like, probably, I think each agency has its own way of working. I know, I think UTA, I think it's UTA, yeah, they work as a team, but like by territory for the same act, which is so strange to me. Like, you know, I think, you know, having like 3 or 4 agents for the same artist, or like an agent will be appointed just to talk to festivals. So this person is going to pitch all the artists to all the festivals. It is very strange and very impersonal, I think, and I don't see things that way. I really prefer having like a strong relationship with the artist and the promoters as well.
But if I counted right, you work with 29 artists at the moment, is it right?
Yeah, but they don't tour at the same time, all of them. So
Okay, but you have to keep relationships with all 29 of them itself.
Yeah.
How many assistants do you have?
No, we are just a team of 3 people for my roster. There would be like 15 artists on tour the whole year. I think it's a lot. But some of them will tour less. Others will need more attention. For some of them who are doing like a lot of shows, it will maybe take less time because it's like, I don't know, it's all very easy, or with like the management or the artist, it's really case by case. Yeah.
All of your rosters are really big of your agencies. Do you see this as an advantage, or can be also a disadvantage if it's such a flooding of bands on your roster?
I worked at like a smaller agency before,
Mm-hmm.
and when I moved over to R.O.K agency, we had the festivals that I was like desperately emailing previously coming to us for meetings because we have such a big roster, and they can come to the office and we each go down and have 20 minutes with them, booker. So I think it's an advantage having like a diverse and large roster. Yeah.
Also for the band or for an agent?
For the band, I think you always have to keep in check whether you do physically have the capacity and the time. And that's why it's good to find out what the plan, what the strategy is, because if you have your entire roster all touring and releasing at the same time, that's going to be pretty impossible. Yeah.
I also think it's an advantage to work for a broad variety of artists, because it also opens other doors that could be interesting for a band that you're working with in the future. And of course you have to check every year if really every band is going to release an album this year and they're all going to tour, I would probably have to find 3 or 4 people to help me, but that never really happens. And sometimes you also would have an influence on this kind of thing. You could also say, why would you be wanting to, do a new band, why would you be wanting to tour in May and October and November where everybody else is touring? You need more attention, so it's move the time frame to a time where I have capacities and where a potential audience is available.
Don't bands get a feeling that they are lost in such a big roster? Because you open a website of your agency and there are A to Z bands and just don't find anything.
I think some bands probably do. But, it's a matter of communication, I guess. It has to be clear that if they're not, or for me at least, if it's not in an album circle, that you can't talk about a thing that is happening in 2 years, at this year all the time. But you definitely have to say something if you're feeling like you're losing capacity to talk and work for something, and you would have to communicate and say that, which is a good and honest way also to keep a relationship, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's also the artist, kind of is the responsibility of the artist to also ask for updates of the agent, and to give updates.
Mm-hmm.
So then, I stay in touch with all the artists, all the time. So I don't think anyone should feel lost. And if they do feel lost, then I guess they probably are having a slower period in their career, and then this should be something that should change that. Then it's also on their side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not your fault.
Sometimes, no, I'm not saying it's not my fault. I'm saying it's
I noticed that when I checked your rosters, that several bands appear at the same agency. One is in German agency, the same band is of course in the other agency for UK and so on. How often do you get, let's say, conflict because of that?
Never actually. Well, I get some emails from Kirmes that he forwards because like someone like from another country, like outside of Germany, will contact Kirmes because Kirmes is like representing some bands I'm working with in Germany. But yeah, no, I've never had any problem at all. No,
What
it's
about
quite
you?
clear.
I've definitely had like agents from different countries, or from the same country, wanting to both work on an act that I've taken on.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that can be kind of difficult and awkward sometimes, but
Yeah, because I mean,
but I work with all of them, so we have to I have to decide as well. Do they have a lot of my roster? Do we want to like? Are they working with acts that are of a similar vein to that one? Like we have to have the conversation and see what would be best for the artist at the end of the day, but maintain the relationship with each agency. Yeah.
so I guess it's really important to make a regional like boundaries immediately when you sign a band, that you're booking it for a certain place of the world, or
Well, normally, yeah, we do UK, Europe. I book tours in Australia and Asia as well, and a lot of the time I partner up with like a US booking agent. Yeah, but yes, we set the territories like on the first phone call probably.
so your agencies, all of your agencies are not like tending towards exclusivity, or are they? If you sign a band, you want to have exclusivity for Europe, or you are willing to deal with local agents?
Yeah, it depends. For our agency, it depends on like what kind of artist it is, because we also work as a sub-agent. So of course we set like then it's just for the Netherlands or Benelux. But if we sign an artist as a agent, then it's usually Europe or worldwide, and then we work with local partners in different countries. But there's definitely set rules on who does what in which country. Like it's not like we accept it if someone like starts like promoting one of our artists without us like having any knowledge about it. It's yeah.
But you work with sub agents or other agencies?
I guess it's the same. I don't know what you mean as a.
Yeah, I mean, you have like local agents who could be even independent and just work for you in a way.
Yeah, but usually they work for agencies. Yeah.
So mostly you work with agencies.
Yes. Yeah.
And the
Sometimes
others, the rest.
in some countries it's the role of a promoter is bigger than like, and then you work with promoters, and like it depends on the country.
I'm asking because it seems like without agency you're lost.
Yeah, no, I think it's a bit blurred to some people because like each country has its own way of working. So let's say in France, for instance, it's very difficult to book a show directly when you are the agent because of laws and taxes and stuff like that, and sometimes just the language as well as a barrier. In Germany, it works pretty much the same way, so it would be like an agent promoting shows, so promoting shows in some cities and selling the show to some venues and festivals. But let's say in Switzerland, for instance, I know a lot, like most venues book, like promote in-house, so you can just book the show directly with the venue or the festival. Spain would be different, Italy as well, I don't know, like Scandinavia. But I think it has to be clear from the start, like who you are working with, like you set a plan and then you talk to your partners, because it has to be your partners, and there should be any conflict or like, you know, like gray areas, because it just, otherwise it's just a nightmare and it takes so much time to solve it.
Yeah, I also think that you would want to know like which promoter you're going to in which territory when you sign a band for Europe, because why would you want to have a regular rock band on an electronic promoter's roster? That makes zero sense, because they might be, or they're probably connected to all the good electronic venues in this territory, like maybe France or the Netherlands. And how would they be promoting a regular guitar rock band? They don't do that, so you would have to pick a different partner. And all promoters in the territories, they have like a sort of a roster where you can see, they're mainly focusing in this direction, and this new band I signed, they might work in that context, and that's how you decide on who you work with.
Yeah, but looking at all of your rosters, what strikes out is that there are really lots of genres on your rosters. Is it like, has it been like that since the beginning of agencies? Because I don't think so. As I remember, agencies were usually more focused on, let's say, pop or like world music or whatever. Today you find everything at the same agency. How come? What changed?
I think like on my personal roster, like I have like a kind of style that I like, I'm attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
So they all make, in my mind, they all make sense together, you know, and I can speak with my network of promoters about all of them at the same time a lot of the time, but I know which ones might be, you know, more inclined to go with them. But yeah, I think you can work with lots of different genres, and yeah, just it helps to strengthen your network and to keep building a bigger network of
Yes, but
promoters to work
isn't
with.
then a bit problematic, because you have to know way more promoters also who book so many different genres?
That's the fun part. We like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, because even like the most attractive festivals for me nowadays are like that. Basically, they look much like your rosters.
Yeah.
They book really different genres. How do you, for example, see this transgenre thing at your roster?
Well, I think I don't represent that. I mean, it's not that diverse. No, I think it's a good thing. It's like, you know, you learn a lot from it. It's good to be in touch with different promoters in each country. I mean, I don't see it as a problem, and like, I think in terms of festivals, when you look at festivals, I think there's still like a lot of well-curated festivals that have their niche of genre, and others that are like more diverse. Like I don't know if it's always been that way, but I think it's still like some of them are still very specific.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is good.
Actually, I wanted this question to point out to Marijn, because at their website it said that BLiP works with tropical music, electronic music, and psychedelic rock and garage music. So basically, what's left when you cover everything?
I guess that's true. Yeah, I don't think we kind of skip genres. We also do, but like we're not really focused on like that's true. We don't do a lot of hip hop. We don't do like the heavier rock genres. But you know, like it could still happen if it's something that we think is good or works. Then we would definitely work with that artist. It's not like we're saying we don't work with this kind of music. And I think festivals are moving to having like a very broad lineup with different genres as well. Like it's getting more diverse.
Let's talk a little bit about showcase festivals, since we are at the showcase. Also, MENT is obviously very open to many genres, but what is your, let's say, relationship toward showcase festivals? I think MENT is maybe slightly different because it offers a fee, takes really good care of you, and some showcases are not like that, I guess. Let's put it that way. Do you like to send your bands to showcases or not? Do you have some second thoughts? Maybe start with it.
No, I think it's very important to have your artists play these festivals. I think you have to choose the right time to do it. Like for instance, Playing The Great Escape a year after an album release doesn't really make sense, I think. Or like same with BLiP band, so it has to be at the beginning of the career or like right before an album release. It's always case by case, but I think here it might be different because there are a lot of people coming here from the region and where the artist might not have toured before. So, and yeah, I really enjoyed this festival particularly because the artists are not playing like 25 minutes, 30 minutes, which I think is so short, so difficult. So it looks like more like a real festival to me, and it's smaller. But yeah, I would always think about the timeline around the release, the plan. But I still enjoy going to The Great Escape, even like BLiP band or Eurosonic.
Yeah, I don't doubt we all enjoy going there, but I'm just questioning
The artist.
the artist. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, because more and more I see some of them who really doesn't want to play showcases anymore because they don't see the point.
Yeah, well, I think there should be a conversation there from the start, because if they're not willing to put the effort in doing that, then it can be really complicated to develop the career. I think you have to choose really the right moment, because most of the time you have one shot. So, you know, Eurosonic, if you have enough, you have to, sometimes you can say no if it's not the right time, and I think it's very important to sometimes say no to things. So yeah, I think it's all about like choosing the right time. And I know it can be expensive to go. So yeah, again, it has to make sense with the whole plan.
Yeah.
If I see an act's name popping up loads on showcase festivals, I probably will check them out, even if I didn't check out the actual gig. So it's kind
Sorry,
of,
if
I
you see the
it-
name on the many showcase
if I
festivals.
see, yeah, I'm like, okay, who is that? I should probably check them out because they're getting all the showcases. You know that they've probably got some hype behind them. So, like, even if I'm not at the physical show, there is something that the band is getting out of the showcase there too.
But couldn't be that dangerous because they are then stuck in a showcase bubble. They play.
The idea is that they're not stuck in the showcase
Yeah,
bubble
but
for
doesn't.
the long.
But
yeah.
it happens, right?
I try and not allow that to happen with an act I'm working with.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a strategic plan.
You even performed at the showcase. What was your
Yeah.
experience?
Well, I wanted to say I do have second thoughts for some artists, because it's a different environment for them to play, and they have to be ready for that, and they also kind of have to enjoy the moment or make the best out of it, because it's an industry audience. It's not like a regular show where people come just to see you and they pay entrance for that. It's a different vibe, and you gotta learn and play to an audience like that as a band too. And the point with the money is always a discussion too, but I believe it's part of developing the career and part of the investment to do this and to make it right, because the best thing that could happen is that you leave this showcase bubble immediately and get to play shows that are paid and that will make you play to an audience that will later be your audience. And I think it's important, but I do, as a band myself, when I was playing showcase festivals, I hated it because it was really stressful, and like at some places you only have 30 minutes and you have 15 minutes changeovers, and we were a band that were always bringing all of the gear because we had so specific gear. Like we had to fight for 5 minutes more soundcheck time, and even when we started we sounded shit because there was no time or no effort from the house staff to make it work. It was different at MENT though. We had a proper soundcheck in the daytime, and there was just 2 or 3 bands playing with us at the same stage that night, and it made total sense. We felt comfortable, and ultimately our show was a little better. But for instance, when we played Eurosonic, that didn't work out well for us because we were so stressed, and we just didn't have enough time to make it right. And all of us were saying we should have just waited a year, but we wanted to do it. And like Clémence said before, it's important to say no if you don't feel ready for it.
So you could say that you didn't gain anything from Eurosonic, for example?
No, we
But
did
you-
get some festival plays, and we started conversations with labels and with publishers, but it could have been better.
I mean, that's something I guess artists sometimes don't see, that it's not only the show you do at the showcase, but it's everything the rest which matters as well, like meet people, or what is your experience with that, Marijn?
I guess it's very important to be prepared, yes, and to invite the right people to your show. And if you don't do that work before, then you're not going to get that much results from playing a showcase festival. And I think also as an agent or artist, you have to decide which ones you're going to play and don't do them all in the same year. Just like keep some for when you're going to do a new album, or like just don't do random showcase festivals.
My telephone bleeped that we're running out of time, that I have to open questions, please. No, because in 15 minutes everybody has to be at the Czech reception. I was told that. So any questions, please? Yeah.
I would touch the subject about sub-agents. I used to work in the Balkans as a promoter, and now I'm working in Norway as a promoter and festival booker. And I continued my communication directly with the agents to book artists, but after a while I found out that there are a lot of like sub-agents in Norway. And then I started writing emails like, I want to book this band, but if you're having a sub-agent in Norway, I don't have a problem to go via sub-agent. And then I booked the band directly, and I get a call from Live Nation or All Things Live, like shouting at me, why you have booked directly and not via us. What do you think about that?
I guess then the relationship between the sub-agent and the agent isn't very good if the agent books it directly with you. So I guess it's not your fault.
But I'm building a bad relationship with my neighbor, and I don't want to do that.
Then you should just book them with Live Nation, I guess. That's the easiest then. Yeah. I think it's more respectful and better for building a relationship if you do if you work with sub-agents.
Yeah, but the Live Nation doesn't have any roster.
This is a difficult situation.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'm Rok from Powerline agency, so I've got enough opinions on sub-agents, but I suppose we'll throw that thing out. When you're contracting with a sub-agent, I consider that sub-agent responsible for paying the contract between that person and your artist. Do you agree with that? Because sometimes I find that some sub-agents kind of blur it a little bit.
Yeah, I think this sub-agent responsibility to do contracting and finance for the show. Yes, kind of like that's the part where that's the 15% you're taking. Like it's part of the.
Effectively, they are the buyer, the contract signing.
Yeah.
In my head, they are the promoter. They're taking the risk. They're actually taking the risk.
Yeah.
Whatever's happening. I agree with the other comments.
Yeah, I agree. Like the promoters, like when we are promoting a band, we are taking all the financial risk, and we promote the show in the venue, but we have a local representative at the day of the show that is running the show that we are also having to pay. And I get it a lot when working with sub-agents or promoters in the Netherlands or Belgium, that all of a sudden you would have to be making a contract directly to Botanique, even though you're working with a promoter that is responsible for that territory. And I keep complaining because it's more work, it's more contracts, more individual contracts. And how do I know like the partner I'm contracting right now is reliable? Because I may have never worked with this person before, but now I'm sending them a contract and I'm forcing them to reply and get a feedback, which I feel is the promoter's duty to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a case-by-case scenario, but like, I mean, if you have good relationships with your sub-agent, like with your partners, you know, you're sure they're gonna pay. So, I mean, is it like more like a legal question you're asking, or more like about?
I guess it's a legal question. It's also, I like to think that they're responsible on every level.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
As you do as an agent, that, you know, they're the person under rent. There's a problem, and they have to sort it out.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. And it happened to me, it happened to all of us, I guess. Like, I don't know, like a show is cancelled, or like the venue, like the promoter disappeared for a smaller show, like in France, and your sub-agent you're working with, who also, by the way, promote the show in Paris, will try to buy time or just try not to pay you because they think it's not their responsibility. But yeah, no, I think it's like, it's very clear to me that they are responsible. So if they want to work with you in the future, they have to sort it out, because yeah, otherwise it would be too easy.
By the way, she said that she never had troubles with sub-agents.
No, I mean, no, it wasn't a problem. There's always like a cancellation happening. It's not necessarily a problem. It's just good to solve it. Like,
I also think it's a tax thing. Like in France, for example, you would want to have the promoter taking care of the whole tax situation. As in Germany, we as well deduct withholding tax from the fees we pay out to bands, and we are responsible sending tax certificates for all of the shows we're promoting in Germany, so that the artist's income tax will be lowered. And if you would have to do that directly with like a venue that you contracted to do the show, and there's also a promoter being responsible that the taxes are paid for the artist, and that you get a legal receipt or like a document that shows the taxes are paid. And I believe this is all the promoter's duty, and if that's not happening, I really sometimes wonder, like, why do we even pay a promoter if we don't get that, and I have to do it directly with all the venues and all the promoters in each city individually, because it's ultimately more work, and there's so many barriers when working with people directly. In Italy, for example, like, you wouldn't even get a reply because it's maybe not in Italian, and if they would not want to reply in English because they can not properly reply to it. And then what do? You just wait and see. It's like not really an opportunity.
Anna, do you have opinion about it?
No, not true. Maybe not answer. Maybe you contacted the...
No, not always.
wrong
I'm not saying
person, the wrong agency.
Sorry.
Maybe you just speak English of the agency.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe wrong.
I mean, from my experience, they are the fastest around.
Yeah.
It's different. I have a question for you as well, since you work in agencies with rosters which have like really big names and smaller names. Do you sometimes use these bigger names as an, like, okay, let's put it that way. You talk to promoter, if you don't sign this small band, I'm not getting you the big name.
I don't do like a buy one, get one free.
You don't?
No, like
Honest to God?
I don't do it. Like
Okay.
sometimes like on a lineup or something, the act genuinely wants to play with the other act, and I'll suggest it, but it's not like you have to book this artist or you can't have this artist. That's not my style. Yeah.
The others?
I'm not proactively saying this, but
Yeah.
there's like situations where it's definitely an advantage to not confirm the bigger band before you get an answer for the smaller
Yeah.
band.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys, same?
Yeah, I think it's not like that, like you really say something like that, but I guess...
Yeah, I'm not saying that you are
No.
approaching promoter like
It's not, you
I
don't really
but-
put that, like, you don't see it like that directly, but I guess promoters understand as well that if they, like, want to work with bands from your roster, they have to take some, like, smaller bands sometimes as well, like, just because you're building a relationship together, so, yeah.
I thought so. Any other questions, please? Yeah.
Hi, David from Prague. You were talking a while ago about the personal relationships that the younger generation of agents are developing with promoters, which is great, obviously. But how do you deal with the pressure of always letting down people who you have a personal relationship with? Because obviously you've got like several contacts in each territory, and there's always someone who you will let down eventually.
Yeah, I think this is hard, and I'm having a hard time with that. But ultimately, you always have to think about your artist first. So I think if it's a fair decision, if you feel that a promoter is not able to do a bigger show, and if there's no way of co-promoting it with maybe a bigger promoter, then maybe it's the right way to do it. But I always believe like loyalty always pays off. So yeah, I think it's a case by case. But yeah, no, I've been a promoter for like 6 years, so I know how it is. And I remember I've worked with a lot of agents, and I remember like especially a couple of agents from the same agency who were letting me down like after a couple of shows, and then I just stopped, replying, and it has to be fair, I guess.
But in this sense, you hurt an artist because you don't answer to the agency.
I'm sorry?
If I understood right, you stopped working with an agency which wasn't fair with you.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a promoter, like an agent who would let me down after a couple of shows to go to a bigger sub-agent, bigger promoter, when he or she was suggesting a new artist, I was just saying, no, I'm sorry, I either don't have time or like I won't do it, because if it's going to be the same way, I'm not going to do like all the work from the start, do like 100, 300 capacity show and then just be,
Which means that it's even more important that you have the right agent as an artist.
Yeah.
Anybody else? The last call? Because... Yep.
What is the smallest, Aaron from Hungary, what is the smallest band you are willing to work with to make the first steps abroad? For example, I'm working with a Hungarian band, which is quite big in Hungary, and top 10 band, and we are about to go to Western Europe, but we haven't done anything yet. What is the size which interests you regards a band?
It could really start from nothing as well, like if there's potential in the artists, then, but I guess with new artists, I could say that, like you want to start with a band that sells at least like 100 to 200 tickets or something, like that's something that you want, but definitely start with smaller bands as well, yeah.
I don't think you can measure it in the size. Like, if you have a plan for the band and you want to develop them, you got to deal with them being small for a first tour and just maybe selling a few tickets. But if you have a plan in place you're pushing through with, this might change on the next tour. So I of course it helps if the band is saying like, we are going to work with this label and they're going to help us promote a record in Germany. It makes our decisions easier, I think, or like if there's a team behind the band. But I wouldn't say it's really, I primarily look at what size the band already is, because for me it's, as I said before, like if the music is great, I'm willing to invest my time to build it up.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, even some of the bigger acts I work with have bigger profiles in certain territories, and some territories are starting again. So, we have to compromise on what their normal fee might be in that certain territory and use it as a promotional experience and find the right way to enter that territory. But yeah, I don't really look at a band and think about their size immediately. Yeah.
Well, I promise that we'll finish by noon, and it's 1 minute till noon, so thank you everybody for coming. Enjoy the rest of the day, and see you around at the concerts.
Thank you.